Welcome to the No Love podcast, where we decrease tomorrow's divorce rate today by teaching singles and couples alike how to experience love on purpose and not by chance. I am your host, Edward L. Fairley, accompanied by my wonderful co-host, Michelle Larkin. Michelle, say hi to the people.
Hey, woo! Welcome. We in the house.
Yes, we are in the house. We were not in the house last week because I didn't even think about the fact that it was the 4th of July. And it's funny because I think I got a text message at like 6:30 saying, hey, I'm out for the 4th of July. About to watch some fireworks. And I replied with laughing emoji saying, me too. Like, I'm out with family enjoying cookouts and things of that nature. So I'm not at my desk ready for the show either. So that's why we were not here last Thursday. We appreciate you all's dedication and loyalty. Mr. Naz, hey, I see what you're doing, sir. Keep doing what you're doing, sir. I'm watching you. Congratulations on a new podcast. Cousin Brian Reed, good to see you, sir. Miss Ann Robinson, she said, good afternoon, Michelle and Edward. How you doing? Miss Carolyn Jones, church member, love you, good to see you. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right now. Matter of fact, I'm gonna start with the actual topic. The topic of today's show, if you have not read it yet, is if you're going to do it anyway, why not now? Basically meaning if you're going to do it anyway, why not do it now? I'm not going to go directly into it. I'm going to tell you from the beginning, I'm going to string you along before I actually dive into what this thing means. And the reason why is because I want you to have your thinking hats on, because when I finally say what this means, some people are going to get really, really emotional in their feelings, because this is going to be a show where it's going to step on your feet. It is going to make you feel uncomfortable. But it's the truth nonetheless. And we are here as hashtag Niners. For those who don't know what a hashtag 9 is for the hashtag Niners, we are about getting to truth. And hashtag 9 basically means when you hear an aha moment or something that you realize is true or liberating or whatever you want to call it, an aha moment, then you would type in hashtag 9 if you're live, and even comment on what that hashtag 9 or aha moment is, so that we'll know what the revelation was for you, and we'll also know what topics to go more in depth on in the future. Hashtag 9, the number 9 is the number of truth. For those of you who are new, the number 9 is the number of truth, meaning if you multiply the number 9 by any number, the sum total of that number at its simplest form, if you add it all up, will always go back to 9. An example of that is 9 times 2 equals 18. If you add 18 together, it's 1 plus 8, that equals 9. If you multiplied 9 times 11, you would get 99. 9 plus 9 is 18. 1 plus 8 again is 9. You can do that with any number. 9 times 3, 27. 2 plus 7, 9. You cannot escape the truth. 9 is the number of truth, so that's why we type in hashtag 9. Good evening, Miss Tila J. Wonderful to see and hear from you. So let's go get into this topic. Again, for those of you who are listening, I am intentionally going to string you along before I dive into the depth of this topic, because I want you to have your thinking caps on, because once we dive into it, some people are going to feel uncomfortable, get in their feelings, and get emotional. And I want us to start with the actual thinking caps on. So with that being said, again, the topic of the show today is, if you are going to do it anyway, why not now? So the disclaimer is, there's definitely shallow individuals who can't see past physical appearances, medical conditions occurring, seasons of difficulty happening, things of that nature. So I am not talking about those people today. So please keep in mind, if you think of any of those type of persons, this has absolutely nothing to do with them. This would be about you and your core belief about yourself, matching the opinion of the person you're offended by and about to leave for being honest. Okay? Yeah, I see an eyebrow lifting up. Michelle. So again, this is not about the shallow individual. That's why the title of it is If You Are Going to Do It Anyway, Why Not Now? If is the operative word. Pay attention to the word if, and that's why it's in caps on the actual title. If you are going to do it anyway, why not now? So again, this is not about a shallow individual who can't see past physical appearances or medical conditions that have come up or occurred or seasons of difficulty. It's not about them. This is about you and your core belief about yourself, matching the opinion of the person you are offended by and about to leave for being honest. This would be addressing the bottom of the triangle, Michelle, since you like for me to break down the triangles and the foundation of what we're talking about. Those of you who are new, when I say the triangle, I'm referencing the triangle that I introduced on the first show, which tells you about the journey that we are going to take. It's the no love triangle. So, and the bottom of the triangle is the self-interest portion. So this is the self-interest foundational part of the triangle, which basically means how you feel about yourself, falling in love with yourself, dating yourself to where you get to a place that you love being by yourself. You technically should not be getting into the dating phase until you like being by yourself. Whole nother topic. You would have to go to revisit that to get into it.
Otherwise, you're chasing that state the entire time, trying to get by yourself while you're with somebody else.
Yes, most certainly. So, with that being said, again, I know I'm stringing you all along, and it's intentional because I want you listeners to have your thinking hats on, because the reality of the truth will have some of you in your feelings in a moment. So before I do that, I do want to do something that is unorthodox for this show. And this is, again, to string you along. It's intentional. But at the same time, I've been checking my analytics. And I don't know what it is about South Africa. And I really want you all to speak out in South Africa. But just a week or two ago, you all were 4% of my viewers. And just yesterday, I checked, you all are 7% of my viewers. I don't know what it is that we're saying, or listeners, those who are listening on the podcast. I don't even know how you all got to listen to my show. I don't even know what it is that I'm saying that is causing you to.
Divine appointment. Divine appointment. Okay.
But I truly enjoy and appreciate those of you who are in South Africa who are listening. I definitely wanted to shout you all out. My mother told me that I need to share my email address. If you all have any comments, because I know on the podcast foundations, the foundational platforms of the podcast, there's no way to comment or speak to me. So if you email me you can put noloveinc@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, testimonies, anything of that nature, because you're not at this live platform, which I am at Facebook, Edward LeVar Fairley, which is what the L stands for, Edward L. Fairley. On Facebook, I would definitely welcome you if you decided to join. But I definitely want to shout out South Africa, because I don't know what it is that we're saying, but I do know that there's love coming from that place. 1% in Japan, 1% in Trinidad, 1%, 1% in Australia. There's other countries that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it really was intriguing to me to see that the increase of South Africa is happening the way that it is in such a short period of time. Of course, America, I love you all. 88% of you all are are my listeners, and I appreciate you all in reference to that. So let's go back into the topic. What in the world am I talking about? So I am a coach, a counselor, and those who are in relationships, they oftentimes come to me insulted, upset that their mate had the gall, the audacity to suggest that the reason why things had changed or even sex slowed down or just the whole relationship in itself has taken a shift after asking what caused it, they honestly shared that it might be their weight, their lack of maintaining the house, the way that they don't treat them the same way that they did in the beginning, and me being who I am. So, truth is not always going to make you feel uncomfortable. Michelle knows this very well. Those who are friends of mine know this very well. Of course, my wife, family, and children know this very well, but being honest or having the truth shared with you is not always going to feel comfortable. And when people share things like this, they're typically seeking some kind of response from you like, oh, I can't believe he or she said that. Oh my goodness, that is so rude. That is so insensitive. But instead, I typically start with questions.
Probing questions. Just so we're clear.
Matter of fact, let me reframe this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna reframe this. So this, matter of fact, this is what I actually have them to think about their cycle. And this is what the whole, now you're about to break into what this whole title means. If you're going to do it anyway, why not now? Is it because of pride? Because what I do have people do is, okay, I'm offended. I can't believe I've had 2 or 3 children. I've gained weight, or I have this, and it's too much for me to clean up. Or he's like, well, I didn't even realize I stopped doing these things, whatever it is. And I simply ask questions like, well, after you break up or leave that person for suggesting that you bring that stuff back up, are you going to ultimately go back to the gym when you want to get back with somebody else? Are you ultimately going to clean up the house again when you start inviting your new potential boo to the house?
Are you going to start sending your representative again?
Are you going to start? Are you going to start paying attention again and responding according to the conversation? Are you going to start holding the door for him or her again when it is that you all start again? Are you going to start doing all of the things that you claim you are offended or appalled by them asking or even suggesting when you get back in the dating scene, when you want to use your bait again to hook someone? Matter of fact, another question, is this the same bait that you use? Is this the same bait that you used to catch them in the first place? And now they're just asking for similar bait? Are they asking you to maintain the bait that you used to catch them to keep
fall
them?
off your game, and they want you to get back on your game? Did you fall off? Like, you just like, I'm tired now, I'm gonna fall off, and now they mad, or they bringing it to your attention that you fell off.
I got Mike Link. He said, yes. They be like, I'm about to get my snatch back. People literally say this stuff. You're exactly right.
They do.
So they're going to get this back.
Me, you want to do it to get somebody else, but you won't do it for me. But I'm wrong.
All you're doing is we're creating a cycle that you're going to get more upset with somebody else in the end again. Again, I cannot stress to you that this absolutely has nothing to do with a shallow individual. Matter of fact, it's not possible for it to be a shallow individual if that is the bait that you used. They're just a person that remembers what you used to actually get them in the game in the first place. Now, if you are not going to do this, this does not have anything to do with you. You should not feel uncomfortable at all. But if you, my friend, are in this relationship and you are just so appalled. I can't believe he had the audacity when I said, why don't you touch me anymore or whatever, to say that it's because of my weight, or you say because you don't spend time with me anymore. You don't even listen to me. You don't hold the door for me. She said this, if you're going to do that anyway, when you go back into the dating scene, why not do it now? Why not make that your being as opposed to your representative or your bait, so that it's just a natural thing that you do, so that once you gain, you maintain.
Are you trying to say be your bait? Don't bait to be. Just be your bait.
There you go. If you become who you are acting like, you don't have to act like that person anymore. You can.
It's easier to maintain yourself than it is to maintain a perpetration of a fraud. Like, just stop perpetrating fraud. Just be you and be your bait.
Now,
be the hook.
This is where it's about to get uncomfortable.
Oh, boy.
Because I have some signs that I see that even suggest that you feel the way that the person that hasn't even said it to you yet possibly is thinking or feeling, and it could be causing things to be shaky in the first place. So I see this quite often. So I'm going to just throw some examples out there. If it happens to land on you, that's not
my problem.
It's not my problem. It's just something to think about. And when I share these examples, I really want you to consider how the recipient of your actions receives what it is that you're doing, or what does it say how you feel about them. Good example. Oh man, I got to lose about 10 to 15 pounds for this 10-year class reunion. 20-year class reunion. I got to get my, as Mike stated, my snatch back for this reunion of people that I don't see.
Go pay somebody.
I don't care about. I don't feel as important or what have you, or they don't even feel that I'm important. But let me go ahead and get right. Let me get in the gym. You have a mate that sees you every day, that is interested in you all the time. Yet you are going to get right for some people you haven't seen in years, because you want them to see you at your best, but you want him or her to see you at your what?
Worst.
I didn't say that. Michelle said that. I don't want to get anybody. Don't comment.
But it's kind of like, it's that weird space of getting comfortable with somebody and letting your guard down because you got them, right? And how many of us know the story of the person? I got them now, so I can relax. Like, really? I got her now, so I don't have to do the same things. But we all know that that's when your representative takes a vacation and decides, I'm not doing this no more because I'm tired. But to your point, my question to follow up is, what are you thinking when you have to do all of this to put on a front or put on a face? What is it that you're trying to compensate for?
This is why this is the foundational portion of the triangle. And this is why the if is so important. Because if the if is no for you, then you're already being who you are, and this is not a concern that you have. You're not trying to get a snatch back because it never left. You're not trying to get you're not trying to get all of these things resurrected because they never died. So basically, here's another example. Does your place get a facelift when you have friends or family that come from out of town to visit you?
I know people who do that. Like go buy pillows and
I'm scrubbing, I'm scraping, I'm doing all of this stuff because mom's coming or my friend's coming or whatever. What does that say about the person that has to live like this on a daily basis? What does that say about them and how you feel about them as a person that has to live in that situation? Now, granted,
I'm tired.
They can and should be a contributor to cleanliness. But if they're not the ones that's trying to break their neck to clean up, then more than likely they're not the ones that feels that the way that y'all have been living is there's a problem. It's you that subconsciously feels that there's a problem. So let me go ahead and fix this problem for this temporary setup, or so that I can look like something that I'm not. But what does that say to the person that is looking like, well, dang, she did that for me. Oh, I mean, she doing that for them. What, I have to live in this. I have to do that. Or you got that, oh, I got to do this. You got people that are in organizations. Oh, I got to get this meal and everything set up for pastor. Wait a minute. When I ask you, can I have a meal? You tired. You frustrated. Like, I don't have time. We get these second wins in the ability to do all of these things. Again, in that person's mind, where are they in the priorities? So, again, if I can't stress this enough, if you are going to do it anyway, why not now? Michelle, I want to hear your thoughts, because I see a lot of faces.
Sacrilege. How dare you not let me just pump up the pastor? How dare you? I'm appalled. But anyway, however, if you can take the time to put the little tissue over the glass for the pastor, how can you do that for your honey? I mean, do you want your little tissue over the cup too? Because I can do it for you. I can't.
This is not. I knew this was not going to be a long show. It's a real show, not a long show. I don't have too many hearts. I don't have too many thumbs up. I don't have too many comments or anything like that. I didn't expect them. But this is a truth and a reality that you really have to address. You can either get to a place where you're fine with who you are, and if you're not making any, if your if is no, I would not do that. I'm going to be me. If he likes who I am, then that's who's going to come to the table. But if you're going to change, don't get offended with them for suggesting the change, not to mention if it's because that's what you use to pull them in. Go ahead, Michelle.
So just going through from my own personal life. So there's a pendulum swing. There's an evolution of a person. So in my early years or early dating times, I was doing the courtship, and I was putting on a certain kind of personality to be bait, so to speak, right? But as you grow older and as you have experiences, and as you realize that it's harder to maintain the representative than it is to just be yourself, or having been divorced, going into a marriage as the representative and realizing that you're dying inside daily because you're just keeping this facade up. And at that point where your inside, your heart meets your reality, it crashes.
Wow.
That line in the sand makes coming to the table as yourself so much easier, because you're like, I'd rather come to my table as myself and be rejected, and then to come out here and try to be this fraudulent person that I cannot maintain, that causes my internal messaging to just start to go crazy because I don't feel valuable, because you're not seeing me. And we talked about this in another session, but you're not seeing me, you're seeing my representative, and that causes some stress that is negative. So everybody might not be at this stage of taking off the representative and being themselves, because they may not have either had enough pain to make that happen, or they may not have had somebody really check them and say, you don't have to do that. Because I'm going to tell you, this point in my life, this most recent chapter, I have someone in my circle that is actually, and I'll say it started with you and it's continuing, and maybe it's because of what I'm reflecting back, but being accepted as you are without conditions on the relationship creates a safe place for these other relationships to benefit, right? So you're talking about this in your marital relationship, but maybe I can't start there because my representative is already in a relationship. But I got to find somewhere where I can be myself and start to practice that, so that when I do what you're saying, which is address it and come out and have this conversation and say, hey, I'm going to get new pillows because mom's showing up, but I always wanted new pillows. So, and I actually like to change the pillows seasonally. So I'm not gonna wait till mom comes. I'm just letting you know you need to put in the budget that we get new pillows every quarter because I like new pillows. So, but you might not be able to say that right away. I get it. So go over to your friend and say, hey, I like Chinese food. And so we're going to go Chinese food today because that's what I like. And start getting used to, this is just what I like. And then gradually bring it in because honestly, it's a muscle that needs to be worked. It's not like you just wake up one day and go, I'm going to take off my representative's hat and be me. It's not a one-day thing. It's a one instance thing. You can start with baby steps. You can do one instance at a time. And you can do it. You say, like, if you feel your temperature rising and you're going to give them the, how dare you? I just said, and and you going all in here. You guys stop, time out, technical. Hold on. Let me listen to, reflect on what No Love Conversation said and say, what I really want to say is, dear, honey, baby, I really like the pillows and I'm not going to wait till my mom comes, okay? And I'll go get my own money. Don't worry about it. I got it. But I'm getting the pillows. I mean.
And in the end, what I'm finding is as I stated, I ask those questions. People feel that they're difficult questions, but it's an honest question. Like, are you going to do this later? And what I'm finding is it's kind of like that. I can talk about my kids, but you better not talk about my kids. I can talk about my brother or my sister, but you better. I can talk about
my third role, but you can't.
There you go.
Third role. Yeah, exactly. I have the third one, but you can't talk about that one.
That's the exact same mentality. Like,
but I can talk about yours.
and that's what I mean. So you, based off of your actions, you agree with him or her because you keep on making these adjustments, whether it be for other people or when it's time for you to date to try to get other people. So you already feel that way. So you either need to get to a place where you love where you are and be that and accept that that's not how you got them. And that's probably going to cause a strain in your relationship and figure out how you're going to maneuver with that understanding and that truth. Or you need to become who you have a problem with not being so that is your truth and that becomes who you are. And that's just habit, which in turn sustains who you either are going to get later or who you have right now.
That change to sell out?
Say what now?
Is making that change selling out or settling. So you're saying be the person, be your representative. So that now you've represented this way. Go on and be the representative instead of letting it be represented. Is that selling out or settling or?
That's a wonderful question. It's only selling out if at the core of you that's not who you feel you should be, and that's not who would make you happy to become. That's the only way that's selling out. If you don't change, there's a problem. You should not have the same mindset or thought process that you've had as a child, as an adult. So it is really okay to change. I was just actually having this conversation with my daughter. So it's interesting that you brought that up. So, because we were talking about being right or wrong. I'm not a big right or wrong person. I don't look at things as right or wrong. That's why I ask a lot of questions. Because one thing that might be right in this context could shift and be something totally different. That's why I think discernment and just wisdom is important, imperative. So no, it's not selling out. It's deciding that this is who I would want to become. If you're a drug dealer and you decide to do well or hustle in a manner that is productive and prevents you from having to worry about getting killed at night, is that selling out, or is that just making a better decision or living a better way? That's why I said you need to work on becoming that so that it becomes a habit so that you can sustain it. And it's not a thinking or, oh, now I have to do it. It's just the way that you go about things, and that becomes who you are. You should always be evolving and growing into your best and better self. So it's definitely not selling out, but that's a wonderful question.
So another question I have is, if you're going to do it, why not now? So what about those people who threaten to leave every 5 minutes? Like, if you don't do this, I'm gonna leave you. If you don't do this, I'm gonna divorce you. Or I'm not gonna give you this. Or I'm gonna withhold sex. Or I'm not gonna. So why not just withhold sex and leave? Like, what? Why do you have to threaten it?
That's also a wonderful question. So that's kind of teeter-tottering on the shallow individual, which I brought up in the beginning of the actual conversation. But at the same token, there's some people that try to flip that, and it's like, that's not who you've been. Now you want this, and now you're talking about leaving. So go on now, get like leave. But at the same token, this is what I mean, and this is why it's so important for that foundational place of self-love, to where a threat like that is not going to alter or shift the core of who you are. So I don't really take kindly to threats, but I welcome truth and honesty. That's the only way that I can grow. So what was I about to say? It's funny. It's very funny that some people think that the way to my heart, and this is just transparency, if people are trying to, what people call get on or flirt with me or entice me.
Have none of
that. But some people feel or think that to compliment me or to be my biggest cheerleader would make me interested in what they're trying to do. When in actuality, my wife is the total opposite of that. My wife is so not my cheerleader. She'd be like, that was okay. But she is so not into what I'm into that she gives me a very honest response or feedback to who I am, which in turn allows me to grow and evolve into a better person. I don't have a biased wife that is like, oh, my man did it, so that was good. She's like, I've seen better. I've heard better. And it's like, wow, okay, I do need to tighten up or what have you. So it's interesting that bait, I don't have a low self-esteem. So you cheering me on is not going to get me to be interested in what it is that you have to offer. But someone that does not get told that they are attractive or that they're smart or that they're beautiful, that may very well get them to shift. But at the same time, that means, which is actually something that you brought up. You said people get comfortable. Yeah, you get comfortable, but the people that want your wife don't.
Nope.
The people that want your husband,
I guess the question is, are we talking about you should really continue to put in the work to maintain your relationship, even in the midst of the situation? And I have to take this call for some reason. They're calling me back, so keep talking.
Okay, so yeah, you're not the only one that is interested in your spouse, in your mate, in your whomever. So there's other people that are going to try to do what it is that you're lacking to try to win them over. So, for one, it is imperative that you're making a choice based off of someone that has more depth than just physicality. So, so that in the event of something as simple as a car accident, that's not going to destroy your relationship. You should have more than just physicalities that are maintaining your actual relationship. It should not just be how they look or how they maintain the house. Not to mention, some of you can contribute in cleaning the house to where if that is the issue, you can contribute in cleaning the daggone house. You're not the only one. She's not, he or she is not the only one that lives there. Like, why are they the only ones that have to clean it up? Again, I'm not discounting the fact that there's shallow and insensitive people. I'm talking about you. One of the most observing things that one of my clients has stated was, which the app, actually I think it's mid next week, will be available for Android. Those who play the simulation, it was one person that said, man, this game seems kind of like a contradiction. On one hand, you told me that because I got cheated on or whatever, I need to consider, like, what did I do or what did I possibly do or not do in the relationship that could have contributed to them cheating. And on the other hand, when I got cheated on, no, when I was the one that cheated, you said that I need to work on my insecurities and things of that nature. So why aren't you speaking to what they did on this card? And it seems like it's always my fault. And I said, actually, that's a great observation. It does seem kind of contradictory, but what the simulation in its frustrating state is, what it's trying to get you to do is see you. Typically, when people are in a relationship, they see the other person. They never see their contributions to the action. And I'm confident in this percentage that if you take care of what you are doing that contributed to issues or can contribute to issues in a relationship, that will fix probably 80% of the issues in a relationship. We talked about in the previous show how people are waiting. When she get her act together, then I'll start doing this. When he get his act together, then I'll start doing this. Love is a one-way street. If you get your act together, that will ultimately take care of the other stuff because they've been waiting on you to do it in the first place. So if you start working on seeing you first, working from the inside out, that will resolve a whole lot of issues. So with the simulation, you might see the same scenario, but you're on both ends and you get kind of dealt with on both ends, but it's because I need you to see you. I need you to see your contributions to the possible issues that you're having with your respective relationships or with you dating, so that in turn, you taking care of what you could take care of. So when you do leave or when you do decide to transition, you know it was nothing that you did that caused it to get to that place. You know you've done everything you needed to do to try to make this thing work. So a lot of people, they leave or they feel like, I feel like I need to get closure. I need to make sure I've done everything that I could do. If you're approaching it in the manner in which the simulation is talking about, looking at both sides, how did I contribute? You are getting the closure during the actual process, not waiting till the relationship breaks up to find out if I did everything that I could to make this thing work. Go ahead, Michelle. I see that mind ticking and you're right.
I just don't want to forget my thoughts. Okay. I don't want to forget my thoughts. But my thought was, as you were talking, was that at the root of this is why. Like, you can't really manage yourself if you don't ask yourself the why questions. Why am I frustrated? Why is this a trigger for me? Why does this make me feel this way? Why am I in this situation over and over again? Why do I respond the way I do? Like, those are self-reflecting questions that actually, again, to me, this is a muscle that needs to be worked. You don't even get to the real answer until you bump up against the wall a couple of times. It's like unpacking your pain. What is the frustration? What is the itch? What is the hurt? And it's any relationship, and it's amplified in a romantic relationship because there's so much at stake. Like at a job, technically you could leave, in a romantic relationship, your heart is on the line, your emotions are on the line. It's a lot more than money at stake. And asking those questions and the fear of rejection, if the answer doesn't come back the way you think it is, makes you kind of want to mute your answer or even fool yourself. And I'm going to speak for myself. Like, it's not that I don't understand critical thinking or understand, what self-reflection is, but in a romantic relationship, sometimes you don't want the answer to be something that actually causes a painful conversation. So you kind of hide from yourself and you edit your own self. And I'm the master of edit. It's called self-denial. That's what it's called. It's called self-denial, and we live there. But on the other side of that island is liberation. So it's really about, again, perspective, but that doing the work of getting to the why. And like you said, if you can manage yourself and if you can get your own motivations right, the rest of this stuff is so much easier because you can only control what you can control. And once you can learn how to control yourself, everything else is stable because you have the power, and you're taking back the power to and to respond in the way that's best for you, not just respond. Like you are taking back the power of the situation to allow it to impact you only as far as you're willing to deal with it, and be able to say, I'm not talking about that right now, or here's how I feel. Probably not the right time to talk about this right now. I need to go think about it and come back, because everything's not all or nothing. And I think that's also part of this whole, it's a process of learning it. Early on, you think it's all or nothing. Everything is a win or lose. I'm right or he's wrong. And as you start to bump into yourself like over and over again, why am I keep coming into the same relationship over and over again? Because you keep going all or nothing. If he says no, you leave. Like, so you didn't get into what happens after we have a conversation and we both kind of meet in the middle. I don't know what that feels like because I always leave. Speaking for myself, the consummate runner, and I'm so much better because of my time with Eddie. If you gave me a something, we done. Peace out, technical. Have a nice life. Love you from a distance, but I'm not doing it. So, but I'm not a runner anymore. Now I'm like, let's stay on the other side of this conversation. It's painful, but sit here for a second. Hold on. It's gonna hurt. It's over.
That's what I've felt for the last probably 7 years. That honesty is the new rude. For some reason, like that is the new rude. Like when you're honest, oh, you are rude. I'm like, no, that's.
And then I'm out.
I'm honest, but the crazy thing about it is you felt the same thing. You just didn't feel that I should have said it. And it's crazy to me. Like you said, we get scared of rejection, or we get scared of the answer. So we don't say anything, which for one means we typically know the answer. 2, it also means that if you never get the actual answer from the person, that you're left with your imagination.
And you're making it up. You're making up.
You're left with your imagination.
They're all against me.
And the fact that this show is so necessary is evidence that our imagination is not on the foundation of love. So we're already thinking negative, the worst possible thing.
Your imagination is all about self-preservation.
We're thinking so many things about this person that we chose as a person that quote unquote loves us. And we're thinking about all the worst case scenarios, and it's not necessarily true. But at the same token, if you already have come to that conclusion that it's going to be bad, so I don't want to talk about it, why not address what you think the bad is, or just ask about it? And like you said, take that quick blow, boom. Oh,
just hold on. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. It's over. We're done. We done. It wasn't as bad as you thought. It really wasn't. It wasn't.
And typically our imagination, this is why when you read a book, it's typically always better than the movie. Because our imaginations go way beyond what the actuality of the situation is. So we'll see it and we're like, I didn't see it that way. They messed that movie up. But that is not what happened in the book. But we go so far out.
The Gray messed me up. I was like, that is not what I saw in my mind. That is not what he looked. Gray did not look like that to me. I was like, nah, man. He ain't doing it for me.
So the books typically they entertain our imaginations, and we do the same thing when we come up with these crazy conclusions about our mates that we don't even discuss. And then even if they align with what we're talking about, because it's so rude, which is again the new truth or honesty, it's like I'm appalled. I want out. I'm leaving. But again, if you go ahead and you end up doing it anyway, you felt the same exact way that he or she did, which is why you're going back to that in the first place. Go ahead.
So can we explore this? This is interesting because I got coming from a runner, right? So if you're gonna go ahead and leave, but you leave emotionally, you don't leave physically, but you get mad at the person who says they're gonna leave, but you left. But you mad when they say I'm walking out the door, but you left emotionally a month ago. But if they stop paying the rent because they leave, you freaking out like, how dare you leave me? I'm sorry, but did you engage, or did you mentally take a break and go like, well, I'm just gonna tolerate it. I'm not gonna shut down. But then you left. You didn't stay in to play to get in there to win. You didn't play.
That's because we typically we respond to the affirmed assumptions that we have in our head, which only affirms the assumptions that we have in our head, when in actuality it might not be the truth. What I mean by that is, say for example, it's the only thing I can think of. So if I offend anyone, it's this the top of my head that came to my mind. So say Caucasians feel that black people don't tip well. So as the waiter, the Caucasian waiter, they are the waiter, and there's a African American family that sits at the table. In their mind, these people are not going to tip me well. So their whole thought process, their mannerisms and everything adjust according to what they feel they're going to get from that person. So their service is not really that well. So the African American people who receive that poor service, they're like, I can't believe this person is treating us this way, or this service kind of stinks. So they give a bad tip or even no tip at all. So now what happened in this instance is the Caucasian gets affirmation that what they assumed was true because they got a terrible tip, and when in actuality the African American people were just responding to the service that they received. First and foremost, let's address what tip means. Tip is actually an acronym which means to ensure prompt service. Tip, to, which is the T, ensure prompt service. No, ensure is E. To
inspire.
It's maybe? Something. I think it's it's something that makes speeding up the actual process of service. So yeah, please look that up for me, Michelle. But basically, it ultimately means to ensure prompt service is the acronym. I already stated that, Jamel. I said ensure, but it's initiate. Thank you. Initiate is what I meant to say. To initiate prompt service. That's what TIP is the acronym of. Is the acronym for TIP. So it was created so that it would get people to actually respond to you in a quickly or timely manner. That's what TIP is, to initiate prompt service. So when that person does not receive that, they're technically not supposed to tip you. But on the other hand, which goes and aligns with what we're talking about, if that African American couple or family gave a big tip because they got bad service, that would actually start to shift the person's thought process. I give a decent tip whether it's good or bad service because I just don't want to be looked at, and I don't respond to people based off of how they respond to me. I am who I am, and I don't allow external things to determine how I respond. So what I'm saying is, in the sense of relationships, if we are the first to initiate these things, we in turn kind of distort their thought process or their view, which in turn makes them their heart soften enough to actually receive a possible change or see the difference. So waiting oftentimes affirms, whereas as opposed to being the one to initiate is what causes change. So we should not be waiting. We should actually be initiating the actual transaction. So you are still a slave to the image of the others because you do want to be seen as a bad tipper. No, I literally said after that I don't want to be determined by my external experiences. I do things according to what I feel is right.
So you're gonna be you're trying to be consistent regardless of whether
I'm consistent in my ways. It's not determined by anyone else. But good question, David Jamel. I think you may be wrong. It says the leaving emotionally. Some people can fall back in or regress, and it's not necessarily leaving. We're still in the fight. Once you choose to leave, then it solidifies the end of what we we're still seeking to be in. He's talking to you at Michelle. So I don't know if you want to respond
I think
to that.
I think it's what he's saying. So I'm not sure. Could you read that again? But I think what he's saying is
Let me read it. Let me read it again before you respond. It says, "I think you may be wrong. The leaving emotionally. Some people can fall back and or regress, and it's not necessarily leaving. We are still in the fight. Once you choose to leave, then it solidifies the end of what we were still seeking to be in." First and foremost, I'm sorry, before you respond, she was stating that she was doing that. She was leaving, and it just, in her mind, which is where the whole story about the tip thing came from, it affirmed an assumption that she had. That's not necessarily, she was not saying that that's what was happening. She's saying that in her mind, that's what she concluded, not what was actually happening. But go ahead, Michelle. I'm sorry. I just wanted you to understand that the way you articulated it was not off, because I gathered what you were saying. But go ahead, Michelle.
There's a multiplicity of ways that people can interpret. So I will make an effort to be a little bit more clear.
Go ahead.
Which is that as a runner, I can attest to the fact that have been witness to and have been the person who, in the heat of conflict, all right, or in difficult situations where I'll just speak on myself, not being able to or willing to or strong enough or clear enough to address difficult situations, and frustrated because the other person isn't maybe giving me what I need or responding, or it's not a good exchange because I'm not giving what I need to give and they're not giving me what I need or want. And so the frustration can make you leave emotionally, right? So you check out. So you're like, I physically here, I'm just not going to give it the same effort, or I am going to wait till this peters out, or, and even having grown up and being around grown people who are emotionally left the marriage or relationship, but physically are in the same house for other reasons other than being in a relationship. They just decided to maintain the partnership but they're emotionally, and I'm not saying it's always an emotional affair. I'm not saying that. It's just, I'm emotionally drained and I'm not going to engage. But that's also the flip side of that is I'm not going to address my issues. I'm going to just be quiet and tolerate, but I'm not going to do the self-reflection work to figure out what it is that's making me want to disengage or what my frustration is. And again, just speaking for myself, those are triggers for depression. It being felt like you're not seen or heard, and subsequently shutting down, and subsequently going back into yourself and not doing the work to figure out why, ultimately can lead to an internal anger that just expresses as depression. So it's not an excuse, but it's what comes if you don't do the work. From my perspective, is really what I was trying to say, is that you can't blame somebody else for walking out if you're not going to do the work of being fully invested and be in there and do the work on yourself. If you leave emotionally and check out and the other person's not sure what caused that and doesn't know how to communicate and cross that bridge, and they choose to leave, like you said, there's culpability. Like, I contributed to that too, by not doing the work of trying to be present. So, and to the point of tonight's conversation, it was like, if you're gonna do it, why not now? Then if you're going to leave, then why not now? So if I was depressed and checking out and leaving, then why not physically leave as well as emotionally leave? That not necessarily requiring it to be the ultimate answer, because even that conversation is going to make me go, wait a minute, do I really want to leave? And that should trigger some other actions, right? So the thought of, if you're going to do it, then do it, is almost a challenge to step up to the plate. So what you think you're going to do it. And if the raw energy of doing it is really not what you want, then you really didn't want to do it. And that's fine too. It's just an answer.
Such a wonderful alley-oop to conclude this show, because this is actually a setup. Because if you're going to do it anyway, why not now? The true it is love. So if you're going to do love, why not now? And within the last several shows, this I think is the 15th show, we've been unpacking and explaining that love is a one-way street. So if you're going to do love, and for one, you love yourself, you would not be altering yourself to accommodate or adjust things to try to actually impress or influence or manipulate people's thoughts about you in the first place, because you will already love yourself, and you would automatically already be giving without looking for anything in return in the first place. So you would not have to start doing that later. So why not love now? Why not do it now? If that's what you're also, if this whole journey with Michelle and I is to get you to a place of love, and love is unconditional. Love, I can't stress, is a one-way street. It's give, 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 give. But the interesting thing about it is, if we all are giving, everybody's always receiving. So no one's ever going to run out of receiving, and you have more than just yourself to receive love from, because everyone's giving it towards you. So if we get to a place of love, then, and we're going to do it anyway, which is the whole point of this journey, then why not? Why not now? Why not start working on becoming a person that is a person of love, and so that these things wouldn't even be offensive. They wouldn't be offensive that someone is just being honest with you out of love that, hey, you know what? You're kind of slipping, babe. Where in the world did you? My wife, who I love dearly, she asked, what's the show? Well, what's the show about today? And I shared. And then I gave some examples and stuff. She's like, I do that. She said, did I fall off, babe? I said, no, you did not. You better you did not. But what I love about it is it is so many times where she's introspective, and she's like, well, dang, is that me? And she'll actually question herself. She's okay with truth. Now, does she feel uncomfortable sometimes? Yes, she does. Heck, I feel uncomfortable with myself often. I'm very, very hard on myself. But it is what it is. So, what do you say? Eddie gets it. In doing love, you stay in the fight. Oh, true. Word. Appreciate it. But another thing too, man, David Jamel, because I noticed, and Robinson, I appreciate you putting that to ensure prompt service earlier, by the way. I don't want you to think I disregarded what you shared. I really appreciate that. Ensure is spelled with an I. I think I'm thinking about some kind of
no, it's people think it's to insure, and it's actually it's a lot of different. It could be insure, but they spelled it wrong.
It's just different in acronyms.
It's an urban myth that it's insure. Yeah,
got it. I appreciate it, and I think that's like either like a logo or some kind of milk or something. To be perfectly honest with you, I think that's what I'm seeing when I see insure. I really appreciate that, Ms. Robinson. By the way, so with that being said, yes. This was a setup. I appreciate you taking the journey with me. We will continue on this journey. Again, South Africa. I love y'all. I appreciate the love. Please continue to listen. Don't forget about that email. And that's not just for those who are in South Africa. That's for those who are listening on the podcast and are not live and cannot communicate with Michelle and I. Please inbox me, email. I actually think that there's like a recording on the platform where you can just record what it is that you want to say to me or share, and it will come to me so I can get messages that way. There is an option that you can press the button to send a recording. You all are just amazing. You are what I consider great soil.
Fabulous.
Excellent soil, because you will take information and seed and allow for it to harvest into something great. And you don't have to sit for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, to listen to anything that I have to say. You clearly want to know better, be better, do better. And I want that for all of us, because in the end, as I stated, if we're all loving one another, we're all taking care of each other, and we don't just have to worry about ourselves because we have multiple persons doing it for us. I sincerely appreciate your minds and time. I want y'all to take care, and we will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night.